Welcome, ladies, ladies, and gentlemen, and welcome back to Sunday Sessions, A Thousand Words. Sunday Sessions, A Thousand Words gives you a peek behind the curtain into the lives of incredible Black professional wrestlers that you may not know, but you certainly will love. Each week, I've been bringing you a different wrestler and a photo from their professional career that means something significant to them. And so this week, I am joined by the one and only and incomparable Reiza Clarke. Hello, Reiza. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. For those who don't know you, will you please give them your name, your pronouns, your socials, and then plug anything that you want them to know about that's important for you going on right now?
Well, my name is Reiza Clarke. I am available on all social media platforms at despicable REI underscore, and on Facebook as just Reiza Clarke. And Clarke has an E. Please do not try to divorce me from my E. It is very special to me. Um, for things to plug, I have been fortunate enough to work with Athena on the Who Runs the World shows out of Metroplex Wrestling in Bedford, Texas. We have another all women show coming up March 7th. We are crowning a new champion, the American Yoshi champion. So if you are in the Bedford, Texas area, actually, it's going to be in Irving. So if you are going to be in that area, if you could come out. If you are not in that area, we will also be streaming on Twitch. So you can find that at Metroplex Wrestling searching Metroplex Wrestling on Twitch. Um, it is normally subscribers only. Sometimes they change that. I like to tell people if you have an Amazon Prime subscription and you are not using it for something already, that is the perfect use for it because you're already paying for it.
Everybody, make sure that you definitely check out Metroplex Wrestling. It is going to be an incredible show, I am sure. So, Riza, tell me about this photo that you have brought. Sorry, if you will show everyone what Riza has, the photo that Riza has brought. So, Riza, it looks like you have brought something special to share with us as your photo for A Thousand Words. This looks like it is wrestling gear. Tell me about this and how is this significant to you?
So that is the very first set of gear that I had custom made. Everything that I had worn up until that point had been like a dance leotard or something that I'd gotten from like a ready to wear website. And so I was just really, really excited about kind of getting to the point in my career where I felt like it was worth the money to have somebody design something for me. Um, I have since done like quite a few sets of gear with this person, but I was just really excited to like have something that was just mine and have somebody kind of be able to take the ideas that I had in my head and put it into something like tangible. I also think it was like the very beginning of me having an idea of what I was doing as a wrestler outside of, physically wrestling. It was kind of like, oh, I have this visual in my head that I want other people to see. And so it was
Mm-hmm.
really for me to get to the point where one, I even kind of had that sort of idea, and two, that it was able to go from like this kind of abstract idea in my head to something tangible that I was holding in my hands was a really big leap for me. So I was, really excited to get it. And it kind of, when I was looking through things to send over, it popped up in my photos and it was just like a really significant part of my career to kind of make that transition. So I felt like that was the perfect thing to showcase.
Yeah. And so, Sword, can we see it again? It looks, can you tell me about the inspiration? Because you clearly created this, but it looks like you were going for maybe a Mortal Kombat Jade. Is that what I'm seeing? Or
So
tell me
quite
where we're at.
literally, what I told my gear maker was one of my only goals, like as a wrestler, when I first kind of started, like how what I wanted fans to get was that I wanted to feel like a Mortal Kombat character.
So
Um,
it's like Mortal Kombat,
ye-
yeah?
yes. And I just like, I had sent her, I think it was actually a picture of Sindel and was like, I want to feel like this.
Yes. Nice. Okay. So wrong character, but definitely Mortal Kombat. I'm so like, because I got the vibes and I was like, oh, like I see the badass women who kick ass in this game in you. Like I feel like that's what that is, but that is so dope and that's so cool. How did that feel for you having, because I know what you mean about as you're coming up and you're kind of just piecing together things to fit what you want to do. How did that feel for you putting on your first custom gear and working your first match in that gear?
So I it was really kind of a bittersweet moment because I got the gear, ended up having to take some time off. I had knee surgery and all of that. So I had the gear
Mm.
for a while. So by the time I probably had it for like a good 2 years before I actually got to like physically put it on my body and wrestle in it. And so
Yeah.
it was really like just a surreal feeling to me because to go because I got like I ordered it before I decided I had to take time off to realize like how bad everything actually was. So
Mm.
finally getting to like I had to get it tailored and all this other stuff later because you know your body fluctuates and all that
Yeah.
time. So like getting dressed in the locker room, like putting brand new boots on and putting this gear on for the first time, it was a lot for me because I for a while was like, I don't know if I'm coming back at all. I don't know if I'll ever actually get a chance to wear any of this.
Yeah.
So being like in the bathroom and having all your stuff on, you're doing your makeup was just like I just stopped myself from like boo-hooing in the mirror because like for a while I was like I didn't know if this day was actually coming. So
Yeah.
to get here and to wrestle with someone that like I had become really good friends with just meant a whole bunch to me.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. And I definitely understand having to, because I had knee surgery as well, but I was actually abroad. So it was scary thinking, how that was going to go while I was out of the country. I didn't know anything about their medical system. And so, coming back after being able to wrestle after that, I understand that feeling of not knowing if you're going to be able to do something ever again. And then, suiting up again and, keeping that dream going. It is a very it's like a grief and then a snapback almost, right? Because you're kind of grieving what you think might happen, but then it doesn't happen, so you get to continue. So it's like, damn, like I felt like I almost lost this, and then here I am. So I get that, that emotional whiplash and how significant that was, especially for your very first gear. For me, my first gear was help. My mom helped me sew it actually. So with her being passed on, that is always something that really resonates with me. And I think about like her taking all these pattern pieces I cut out and like helping me put it together. And she didn't support, she thought wrestling was trashy and like, I don't know why you want to do this, but you're going to look good doing it. So like,
That's
I
so
definitely,
real
right? Like, so
because
I
like
definitely understand that. Yeah.
the person who helped
So,
tailor my gear is like a really good family friend, and to the
mhm.
same he was like, "Girl, I don't know what you're why this is something that you feel like you need to do, but we're gonna make sure this little outfit fits when you go out there and you do it."
Right. Go ahead and do your little wrestling thing. I don't get it, but so yes, definitely can understand and relate, and that's so beautiful. For you, with I'm sure you've had multiple gears now. For you, the evolution of your character, how has that changed and paralleled your evolution as you as a person outside of the ring?
I think that like I said, I took a lot of time off, and so I had when I sorry went from just kind of the space of oh, okay, that I physically will be able to kind of try to start doing this again. Um, I just wanted something that felt like wholly me and something that was like very so something where it's like I could see myself, and then when I watched the rest of the wrestling world, I didn't feel like I was seeing it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Um, how I got to because I feel like I went from just kind of generic, um, you know, black girl is a bad bitch, to just kind of like actually having something to present. I
Yeah.
was joking like mine is my I got to the pirate bit because I have a one of my mom's really good friends who I consider my aunt worked on an island. So my mom's from the Bahamas, and she worked on an island as a teacher. And so my mom used to go visit her, and it was this great gig. And the what they didn't realize at the time, and she didn't realize until like she stopped working there, is that she was working for the Colombian cartel over on the island that they were trafficking drugs out of for Pablo Escobar and them. And she
Oh,
was teaching
fun.
she was over there teaching the narcos kids, and like obviously she's like I wasn't asking questions, so I just know it's like all these really rich people and they want their kids privately educated. And so she's like, yeah, awesome. Come to find out, you're taking care of the Colombians kids. And so that kind of started me
Yay.
down this pipeline of just kind of um the Bahamas and their connection to I I'm a true crime person, but I'm also someone who doesn't want to hear hours of people dying. So like my
Mhm.
crime of choice is always like financial crime. So I ended up like waist
Mm.
deep in a bunch of stuff, which kind of led me to pirates. And it's kind of just like the overall history of like the Bahamian Islands and crime always kind of goes back to people trying to hide money. And so
Yes.
I can't think of a bunch of people doing pirate stuff. And so I was like, let's start here and kind of move into like just like the vigilante, that kind of thing. And just I it's yeah, it's something that feels very personal to me because of, how we got here and like the family history
Yeah.
behind it and all. Because like they even call like some of the Bahamian Islands like, it was like the pirates country for a while
Yeah.
because, first it was like the British came over and then the pirates kind of took it over and the British were like, all right, you do whatever. And then they started stealing a little bit too much and they were like, okay, yeah, we got to come shut that down. And so I
And
think
that
for me, it's like, I was like, no, I get it. If someone was like, hey, here's this place that was like unusually kind of integrated because they were like, look, piracy is not fun work. Privateering is not fun work. If you're willing to show up on the boat and do the work, we don't care how you got here. And we're certainly not sending you back to somebody who's not paying you.
right.
So it was like, for me, it was just a bunch of like getting to do a deep dive into like history and kind of personal history and also being able to like show that regularly in a light that isn't necessarily always the most positive, but it's something that makes people think and kind of gives them something else to, look into and talk about and all
But I
those
think
fun things.
that's also really cool because you're using your artistry and your gimmick to and highlight history that is so specific to you. And that leads us into our next section of the street and what made you. And so, would you say that the your identity and the street and your heritage have played into that? And will you please share that with the audience?
So absolutely. The street that I chose is called Carmichael Road. It is the street that my mom grew up on. And she always loves to say, you can take the girl off Carmichael Road, but you can't take the Carmichael Road out of the girl. Um, and so for me, it's just like I always tell people I have the luxury of kind of being part of a legacy of really, really tough, strong women.
Mm,
And a lot of what I try to do with my wrestling is be myself, but also be a good steward of the legacy that I've been kind of gifted.
for
Um,
sure.
Obviously, like I said, my mom's from the Bahamas, my family's Bahamian, but also my dad's from Louisiana, so it's like I always joke that like my family is Southern country and island country. It is the
Mm,
similar but very different, cultural things. And it's just, I guess, like for me, really fun to be able to show kind of a mix of that. And just, so I feel like, especially in the South, people are like, you feel like somebody I know, but also something that's very like different from the norm of kind of what I'm experiencing. And so for me,
yeah.
I feel like I get the luxury of being able to kind of carry both those flags. And, there are I've had the luxury of meeting a couple of other Bahamian wrestlers, but the islands are only so big. There's only so many people, and so I just think I have the luxury of being able to kind of help, carry that flag that not a lot of people, get to do that. And so I am very, flattered. I love the fact that my family are really big wrestling people, at least my mom's side. So they're just thrilled that their family member is a wrestler, and they love to tell people that. And so it's always very funny to me, when my mom will be back at home and it'll be them passing the phone around and all they want to hear about is my wrestling. And I saw one of your matches that you do, and so I just, yeah, I have the luxury of just being able to be one, like as good of a steward as I can be for them, but also being able to know that like they're proud of the work that I'm doing and that, they like the fact that I'm trying to carry the flag to the best of my ability.
Would you say that having that support and that family engagement is a battery for you when it comes to pursuing wrestling?
Absolutely. I think that for a while, especially when I was kind of deciding if I wanted to get into wrestling or not, some of it was like I have had a lot of support from my family, even the side that's like, girl, I don't understand why you're doing what you're doing. But as long as it's important to you and you're working at it, we love that for you. And my I have a luxury that a lot of people don't have. My mom is someone who, if the show is in driving distance, she's going to try to be there. Almost any
Mm,
time I'm at home, my mom is in the crowd. And so I just have, I'm very lucky in a way that a lot of people aren't. That again, like I said, even if my family doesn't understand why it's important to me, they know that it is, and so they kind of do their best to be able to to give me all the support that they can give me, and I'm very very thankful for that, and I'm always excited to kind of get out in the crowd and kind of scan and be like, that's my mama.
Yeah. You are carrying on a legacy that may be a little bit different than what your ancestors were participating in or experienced. So, for your forecestors, your ancestors that will come next, what would you say to them about following their passion and their dream that may be unconventional?
Um, I think that the one thing that I joke that my family may not have I may not have inherited money from my family. Unfortunately, the only thing these folks gave me is a work ethic. Um, so it's going to be one of those that whatever it is that you decide that you want to put your time and your effort into, it may not be an easy road. It may not always feel fun in the moment, but you've been gifted um, a lot of you know examples and support of people who just understand that like sometimes the stuff is a grind. I come from a family of performers as well, so it's like a lot of us are in a case of we're doing things that may not make the most sense to people around us, but
Right.
as long as you are doing your best to build something for yourself and build something for your community, you're going to have support. You are going to
Yeah.
have the ability to do so, and you've been gifted the work ethic to make it happen. So, unfortunately, the only way is through sometimes.
Maybe fortunately, right? Because you got to go through it to get to it. So,
Absolutely.
maybe fortunately. Reza, is there anything that you would share with a wrestler who is coming up and may not necessarily have the same support as you, but has the same drive and work ethic and wants to make this dream whatever it looks like for them? What would you offer to them?
Um, I will say that sometimes this feels easier said than done.
Mm.
Because you didn't show up with the support does not mean it doesn't exist. You will be
Ooh.
the people who will go to lengths to try to support you in what you are wanting to do that you will meet through the course of you doing this.
Yeah.
Um, it's like almost like anything else in life when you're, trying to get somewhere. Sometimes people you come across who don't know you from Adam are going to be your biggest supporters, and I would say that don't allow feeling misunderstood by the people that you came into this journey with stop you from being able to move forward in it, because they may not get it right now. They may never get it. But that doesn't mean that someone isn't, and someone isn't going to be willing to support what you've got going on, try to help you get where you're going. And I think that sometimes that we can get a bit caught up in feeling unsupported, that we miss the folks that show up all the time, because it's going to be that you're going to see that same person's face in all the shows that you go to in an area. That person is giving you that same level of support that you may not feel like you're getting from where you want it, but you are getting it. And so mine is just kind of don't get lost in not having what you want off top, so that you completely lose your ability to realize, the support that's coming from other places.
I think that's amazing and also very well timed and well placed for the time that we're in.
Welcome back to Sunday Sessions, A Thousand Words, and here is your Black Wrestling History Moment. Today, we're talking Sealy Samara. The history of professional wrestling is often told as if it were born fully formed in arenas under bright lights with clear championships and neat lineages. But for much of the 20th century, wrestling lived elsewhere in circuses, fairgrounds, stadiums attached to amusement parks, port cities, and touring athletic ambitions that crossed borders faster than governing bodies could regulate them. Inside that world moved a Black American wrestler whose career was not only extensive, but truly global. His birth name was George Hardison. His ring name was Sealy Samara. What we know about him exists because fragments survived: newspaper advertisements, match results, promotional language, and later historical reconstruction. Those fragments, when assembled carefully, reveal a wrestler who was not marginal but central to multiple regional scenes across decades. George Hardison was born in Fort Valley, Georgia in the early 20th century. Census and genealogical records place him in a working-class black family in the Jim Crow South, an environment that offered limited formal opportunity but produced many athletes who entered entertainment and sport through boxing, carnivals, and traveling shows. By the time Hardison entered wrestling, this pathway was already well worn. Black athletes were often excluded from amateur athletic pipelines, but found access through strongman acts, boxing exhibitions, and all-in wrestling cards, where promoters valued spectacle, toughness, and crowd response over institutional legitimacy. Hardison adopted the ring name Sealy Samara, later sometimes billed as Sealy the Arm Samara, emphasizing his physical strength. His style was consistently described as power-based grappling, and early accounts identified a favorite hold known to him as the flying horse. These details matter because they indicate a technical continuity. Samara was not a novelty act drifting between shows, but a wrestler with a reputable, recognizable in-ring identity. By the late 1930s, Samara had become a major figure in Boston's wrestling circuit, then one of the most competitive and politically complex wrestling territories in the United States. Promoters in Boston were engaged in rivalry, and championships were often as much tools of promotion as sporting recognition. It was here that Samara was billed as an Ethiopian champion, a character construction drawing on contemporary global awareness of Ethiopia and Emperor Haile Selassie. This was not accidental. For black wrestlers, promoters often supplied acceptable, quote unquote, foreign or royalized identities that made success palatable to white audiences while avoiding direct association with African American equality. Within that framing, Samara achieved something historically notable. Contemporary coverage identified him as the first black man to challenge for a recognized World Heavyweight Championship in 1938. In that context, and regardless of the work nature of the championships at the time, the challenge itself signaled status. Samara was positioned as a legitimate threat, not merely a supporting attraction. After Boston, Samara did not fade. Instead, his career widened. Records place him wrestling across the United States, in Canada, and eventually in Australia and Southeast Asia. He held titles on the Pacific Coast and appeared in early cage match style contests, indicating that promoters continued to trust him with marquee stipulations. This matters because black wrestlers of the era were often regionally constrained, cycling through limited circuits. Samara, by contrast, moved repeatedly into new markets, suggesting both drawing power and professional reliability. The most detailed surviving documentation of Samara's later career comes from Singapore in 1952, preserved in digitized English language newspapers. These records provide week-by-week evidence of a sustained run at Happy World Stadium, a major entertainment venue tied to an amusement park and frequented by large crowds. From the moment of his arrival, newspapers emphasized his race, repeatedly billing him as the first Negro wrestler to visit the East. This phrasing appeared in advertisements, previews, and reports alongside descriptions of his physique and strength. At the same time, those papers documented his centrality to the card. He won his debut match decisively. He worked extended feuds with opponents such as King Congo, Al Costello, and Chief Little Wolf. He was involved in matches that produced walkouts, disqualifications, rematches, and even police intervention, all hallmarks of top-billed wrestling programs of the time. He headlined bouts framed as championships and charity wager matches. Across at least 5 months, Samara remained a consistent attraction. The record shows him not as a one-off novelty, but as a pillar of the touring circuit, trusted to anchor storylines and draw crowds. The Singapore papers are revealing not only for what they say, but for how they say it. They meticulously recorded Samara's race, his billing language, his match outcomes, and the disorder or excitement surrounding the bouts. However, they did not record his personal reflections, his financial arrangements, his long-term attentions in professional wrestling, or his interior life. And this asymmetry is consistent with how the history of Black performers is archived in colonial and post colonial press, highly visible as bodies and attractions, but minimally preserved as full human subjects. The result is a record rich in professional movement, but sparse in a personal narrative. By the early 1960s, Samara settled in the northeastern United States, and he died in 1964 with limited public documentation surrounding his final years. There is no indication of scandal or disgrace, only the quiet disappearance that often follows when a performer's circuit ends and no institution claims custodianship of their history. But as taken as a whole, Samara's career demonstrates several facts that matter deeply to wrestling history. 1. Black wrestlers were not peripheral to early professional wrestling. They were champions, headliners, and international travelers. 2. Global wrestling circuits existed well before modern globalization, connecting North America, Europe, Australia, and Southeast Asia. 3. Racial framing shaped archival survival. Samara is remembered repeatedly as the first Negro wrestler, while his technical skill and longevity had to be reconstructed later. And 4. Erasure does not require failure. Samara did not disappear because he lacked success or skill. He disappeared because the systems that benefited from his labor did not preserve his history. Celie Samara should be understood not as an exception, but as evidence. Evidence of a Black wrestler who navigated early professional wrestling at its most fluid, most international, and most precarious stage. His life reminds us that wrestling history does not begin with television, and Black wrestling history does not begin with recognition. It begins with people like Samara, working week after week, crossing borders, building crowds, and leaving traces that only careful reading can bring back into view. Thank you for watching and listening to Sunday Sessions, A Thousand Words.
So, transitioning into our game, you chose finish the promo. So, you're going to choose one object to cut a promo about, but you're not going to say the name and you can't be overt with what it is. It is up to me to guess what you're cutting a promo about. So I'm going to go first, and you're going to have to finish the promo by guessing what I'm talking about, okay?
Sounds
Okay,
good.
you ready? It has come to my attention that there's some debate about how fuzzy I am. Because I am the fuzziest. There may be some who are rounder, but they ain't got the dips like me, huh? They don't. They don't have my coloring like a sunset. They don't have my deliciousness. Y'all be checking for me in the summertime, okay? I know your granny's cobbler, huh? You're looking for your girl, but you won't find me because I'm deep in there. You can only get me when I'm perfectly ready, huh? I'm not available to everyone. And my fuzz makes me distinctive. And so I ask you, do you know who I am? Okay. You know.
I feel like I'm completely off, like what you're trying, where you were going, because my brain stuck on like the fuzziest, and immediately my
Okay.
brain was like, I'm gonna show my age. You know the little nursery rhyme when you were a kid and you're like fuzzy wuzzy was a bear.
Fuzzy
That's where
Wuzzy.
my brain. That's exactly where my brain went, and I'm like, I feel like that's not it, but that's all my brain. It was like, no, this has to be it.
Okay, no, that's okay. No, that's not it. Okay, okay. And you know what? That's okay because it's feedback for me about my promo. And I appreciate that. So I'll give you a hint. It is a fruit.
Fruit. Sorry, fuzzy and yellow.
Sunset. Huh?
Okay, sunset and a fruit.
Think of the skin of this fruit.
My brain's going to a mango.
Think of the curve
Perfect.
Remember, I said one is circular and fuzzy, but it doesn't have curves like me. It's sometimes used as an emoji for a body part.
Is it an eggplant?
What's the other one?
Peach. Jesus. Jesus. Jesus.
Hey, we did
Come on.
it!
A Texas girl and I couldn't figure out we were talking about booty. That's crazy. Insane work.
No, you're good.
I'm a
Okay,
terrible
look at it.
southerner.
Yes, it was peach. Yes.
I'm a
Okay.
terrible southerner. Literally.
Because it's also good feedback. Because you have to think about, like, when you're cutting a promo, you got to give all the information. But if it's like a game, you got to omit the information. But if you want people to have hints, you got to give them enough and omit enough. So your feedback is very valid. And so I appreciate it. But incorporate it into you because it's your turn.
Okay.
Okay? I'm ready. And you can pick anything, it doesn't have to be a fruit.
Most people wish they had the kind of prestige that I have. They wish that when someone comes across a dessert table, that they are the first thing that gets picked up. But of course, they are not me. I have plenty of imitators where if you get them and you think that you are getting me, I'm not even going to be upset that you are as angry as you are. I'm the OG for a reason, the safe choice for a reason, because when you get with me, I get the job done. And you never have to worry about being satisfied at the end of your interaction with me.
Oh, that was good. Okay. Okay, so you gave a good hint, which was dessert table. So I know what I'm looking at. Okay. Okay. I have two clarifying questions. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Is it a pie?
It is not.
Okay. 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 And my second, does it need time to rise?
It does not.
Okay. We're cooking with grease. Okay. And you may see imitations of me, but they ain't me. Ooh. That's also a bar. That's also a bar. Okay. Uh, are you a brownie?
I am not a brownie.
Oh, okay. You may see imitations of me. And you gave good clues too.
Like there's
Okay.
a lot.
Ch-
There's a
chocolate chip cookie?
yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. The audio probably just very much cut out because Sorg told me when I get high with the audio that it just goes silent. So apologies for that. My excitement, as you can see, was quite high. But also that was a very good way to describe. Like,
Thank
are
you.
you a writer also? Because
Oh, back I used to. I will not call myself a writer, but I wrote a mean fan fiction back in high school.
so yes. Period. Because hello, who is sitting and writing a whole fan fiction and not? Anyway, interested in that, by the way. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yes, yay! We both won the game. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for coming on Sunday Sessions, 1,000 Words. It has been so good to talk to you and to get to vibe with you a little bit. Would you please remind everyone of your socials and please plug the show one more time so that people can either come or check into the live stream?
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me. You can find me on all of the standard socials as Despicable REI underscore and as Reiza Clarke with an E on Facebook. Also, again, March 7th is the third Who Runs the World is the American Yoshi tournament. You can find us, we'll be in Irving, Texas if you'd like to come out in person. And if you can't make it, you can find us on Twitch at Metroplex Wrestling.
Guys, make sure that you plug into Metroplex Wrestling. I'm sure it's going to be an incredible show and going to be filled with wonderful talent. And I wish you all to have a wonderful event. Reiza, thank you so much for being with us. And thank you so much for being on Sunday Session 1,000 Words.
Thank you.
Ladies, and gentlemen, this concludes Sunday Sessions 1,000 Words. And thank you so much for being with me and all of the incredible Black professional wrestlers that you have seen over the course of February. Coming up next week, you will get to dive into my photo. So please come back for that. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time. Bye.